Hello there. Welcome to the State of Decay 2 stream. I'm your host, Jeffrey Card, and over here we've got Dan Mode, who is a hard surface artist. He makes vehicles and weapons and all kinds of fancy stuff for the game. And then over here on the other side, we got Ian Yonika.
Hey.
He is a senior animator, and he's who we're going to start with actually today, because we got him in here to talk about animations, combat moves, things like that. So if you guys have any questions that you want to direct at an animator, that's an animator, and you can totally do that while we're talking. And I'll try to pay attention. So if that's kind of weird. Anyway, let's get started.
All right. Well, here we go. This is jeez. So actually, I played most of I played every day during development, but it was usually in test levels, and so the context of being in a real world is just quite a bit different. Oh, yeah, he's got a knife. So,
yeah. So you made a specific request. You wanted me to give you a character who had acrobatics, who had close combat, and who could dismember guys with guns.
Yep. Because there's some deeper, a lot of the stuff that we developed, we actually kind of locked behind, gates that you've got to unlock. So, I don't really have a sense of who's able to see what when they play. And watching streaming, you're just like, do the thing that you know that they can do, but they don't know that they can do it. So, see if I can get a knockdown. There's some, some more interesting stuff like that is in there that, yeah, so I wanted to demonstrate, for instance, the, this is not a test level, there's all kind of obstacles. Well,
this is the way it goes, right?
Right, so that was another thing I wanted to, see if she can get me again. If she's not coming from it. Well, I'll show the dismemberment. You can knock a leg off like that, and it, oh boy. So when I test, I figure all these zombies in the game.
If you take all their legs off, eventually they won't
well,
get
I do
you.
want to show the difference between, for instance, if you grapple, you pick this guy up,
Juggernauts make me want to stay
and you
home
throw
and
him,
hide under the covers.
which is,
It knocks everybody down.
right, and that's different than if you were to get a,
I didn't know you could do that till recently.
yeah, we don't expose it well, totally. The other thing that I do is, so I'm used to,
Oh yeah, having to run out in the middle.
oh,
That's what we need. You can run inside if you want. You got a bunch of friends.
all right.
Or you can grab a car and go anywhere else you want to too.
Yeah, maybe we'll just go to a more clear area.
I got you 2 gas cans in there, so you can drive anywhere you want.
Oh, there's an animation bug. That one kills me. The fact that we only got one car enter and car exit anim, despite the fact that we've got variable height vehicles. You'll notice in coupes you actually sink into the ground, which it kills me.
But what would it have taken to actually support all the different vehicles?
I think it would have taken a system similar to our climbing, where if you can climb over a fence and there'll be a variable drop on the far side, and perhaps in the next things that we can do something like that for vehicles, where get out of something like this and it will look right, and get out of a monster truck it would also look right. This animation is there's 1,000 little things that you got to get looking right, and that's the frustration is that luckily it was hidden by the door, is that it's the things you don't get right that get exposed.
It's like nobody notices the animations that you painstakingly got right, because it just feels like natural human behavior.
It takes so much work. But
Hansel Adola wants to know, how hard is it to add more animations after release?
pretty tricky right now. We're actually up against some constraints. Okay, so here's what I wanted to demo. So
Oh yeah, do this first. That's fine.
I ran out of stamina, so I lost him. But if you grapple,
I think I got you some sandwiches, by the way. I think you can. There, yeah, some snacks.
Sandwich.
there we go.
That's RB. Yeah, there you go.
Okay, got me with the light struggle. And that's a complex system right there too. In
I'll bet, yeah.
In and out of synced stuff is really tough to do. Alright, so if I dodge, get it from behind, and then shove, she stumbles like that, versus
Take the legs off?
take the legs off and toss them instead. So it's like, and this wasn't anything that was really planned, it just sort of was, we got the working where, if you, it just became an emergent requirement where, we've got a legless zombie that then is stumbling through the air with no legs, and it didn't make any sense. And we're like, well, we need to develop a system for that, which ended up being
So when you start with when you start out with the system and you're planning out how many animations you're going to do and how long it's going to take, I imagine that a lot of the time you start with a short list, and then as you're developing, you realize you need 9,000 more.
I mean, and that's what it is, and that's the challenge. You know, I think we must drive production crazy. There, it's nice for it to look simple on a spreadsheet. Oh, you know, we just need these animations, but once the rubber meets the road, you're in and you're playing and dealing with the reality of the systems playing with each other. You know, this is a big game. It's an open world game. We've got stuff just conflicts with itself and things emerge. That was a fun, I don't know if you saw that death animation there. That was actually, the reference was taken from somebody being hit in the face with a soccer ball.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just blasted in the face. And so what we did was, just animate those first few frames of getting hit in the head and then throw it into ragdoll from that. Showing the grappling.
So we let's see here. Oh, we do have a question. Like, Arky wants to know, was there any mocap involved in the animation process?
There's a lot of the base facility stuff is mocap.
Like when characters are just sort of like chilling in facilities.
You know, I think probably in the next stuff that we'll do, we'll use it more heavily. Some of our, this run is not mocapped. And there was some challenges here too. Like this is actually, it's one jog animation, regardless if I've got something out in the hand. And this is even more easy to illustrate if there's a bat. It's the same animation, and having it look acceptable, whether or not there's weight being carried is a real challenge. Same thing with variable size backpacks.
Oh yeah.
You've
got a huge hiking backpack.
Right,
You expect to be hunched over and.
Right.
Yeah.
Same thing for the sprint actually too. This will be the same animation that if there was a bat or a sword, it would use the same thing, which is a real challenge because you got to keep the bat out of the face.
Are you animating the weapons that are dangling on the backpack, or is
that I believe is physics? Yeah, and the straps too. I think that was a requirement. There be secondary overlap motion in the backpack like that.
Yeah.
I think the initial attempt was to actually have.
You're in a bad neighborhood.
Yeah. Zombies. I should just get a car and move everybody over. Why didn't we animate anything?
So I'm going to reduce the game audio, you guys, because folks are having trouble with it. Whenever there's a lot of gunshots, folks are having trouble hearing us. But that's totally fine. Like I think I can get the volume down, so it's not too big a deal.
Oh, that was some good answers too. Shoot.
No, I'm pretty sure people can still tell what you're saying, but let's see here.
Yep, and that so going back to the locomotion, I think ideally in the next features or the next titles that we make, it would be nice to have custom animations for if you've got a weapon out, have it run like you're carrying a weapon. But
that takes a lot of time.
It's more time, yeah, because you got to make. Anytime you need a velocity change, we want the characters to go faster or slower, then you've got to do it in two places because you've got two anims, and so.
I think you have painkillers, by the way.
Oh, I wasn't even paying attention to that. Thank you. I'm not a good multitasker.
Oh no, that's me neither.
There we go. Good catch. Good catch. Might have just shown our death system.
which is also a thing. Let's see here.
That was the reference for that was a rugby tackle. Just looked at rugby for reference. That kind of stumbling was taken from somebody in the running of the bulls, actually, looking at, in Spain, they're just running, falling over, and, it's like, oh, that's a good, the intent there was to show, as they're about to do an attack, have them break into a different stride to give you a warning, a tell, so that you can dodge at the proper moment.
Yeah, we've got a couple of questions about, the likelihood of getting additional animations for certain things like, oh, hey, what?
So right now we're up against budget, actually, memory budget.
Oh yeah, you were gonna, yeah.
So I got sidetracked there, but so that's it's a series of compromises game development, really, because I want every animation, just let's hire 4 more animators and put in 1,000 new anims to solve every problem for our department. But the issue is that things like frame rate matter too, and so what's the balance? So we have to have limitations.
So the more animations you have, that means that the fewer characters you can have, because each character is bigger. Like each character has to know what animations they've got available to them.
Yep. And then,
And I guess their behaviors also get more complex. So like their AI gets more complex if you're adding a bunch of animations, and the character has to decide what they do.
And I'm not such an expert in that area. We've got a really great technical animators, a couple of them, Jason Minters and Seth. Gosh, I'm blanking on Seth's.
Salts?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, he's new, but he's phenomenal. Those guys really saved our skin.
So yeah, so that's going to be the answer to, I think, some of the questions we're getting about, can there be a new, upfront grab kill with the close combat weapon, or what if they kicked out the windshield and climbed out the front of the car if their doors were blocked?
I want it all, and keep these suggestions coming, honestly, because now that's what I love about working on a live game is you can develop reactively to what the community wants, and that I'm a huge proponent of that, and so I'm actually right now trying to redo that animation. The internet,
the stepping over an obstacle one?
The internet was mean on that one, where they're like, why can't you get a hand plant vault? And it's concessions, because the reason for that was that same anim gets used to go through a narrow window, where if you were sideways, you clip through the. Oh yeah,
that makes sense.
So that's another case where I'm gonna I'm making the anim and being like, look, it looks good. Can I check it in? And probably hopefully not break the whole live build. But going back to. Yeah, I mean, if people want something, be loud, be vocal, put on your caps lock, and we need new anims, and then that will give me ammunition to go and be like, look, they want new anims,
Patrick Green is curious about sort of the thought that went into the what styles of combat we use. He suggested, what if characters could box or do karate?
Yeah. I think where I was coming from for combat animations was really looking at a lot of street fights, a lot of like gritty, real stuff. Because I figured these are not, some of them in their back bios are trained combat, but I was looking at stuff like Krav Maga, the Israeli, just sort of like do damage and get away was really, and I didn't want to get sometimes people were like, oh, you could like tear their guts out and like do all this gross stuff. And I was like, no, we're the good guys. I didn't want to be. There's a line where I'm just trying to be like boom, like quick execution. Now there's no joy in that. It's just efficient,
Yeah. Careful, Juggernaut.
Oh, thank you. Where?
And then, it was behind you, so you're running the right direction.
Yeah.
I just want to not see him.
Well, this is a climbable fence.
It is not.
Oh no! Oh no!
That might be, but
there's barbed wire in front of it. So.
Oh, nicely done. Oh yeah,
I'm just
this.
Screwed.
Unfortunately, sharpshooter does not increase your reload speed. So, oh my gosh, are we gonna get Ava killed?
No. Oh.
Okay, get up.
This is a fun system too, actually.
Oh no! Are we dead?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so this is a Daniel Floyd in custom animation right there. He's famous. He's internet famous. So that was
yeah.
Juggernaut
That's
Red
legit.
So, yep.
So and I think one of the constraints on the combat system too was the fact that when you're fighting zombies, you always like the final move has to either be crushing or penetrating their skull, right?
Yep.
And so fist fighting just it doesn't go anywhere,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I think we decided on that you've got to sever the spinal cord or destroy the brain. And so that played into, for instance, I didn't demo it as much as I should have, but in knife combat, one of the initial passes was actually just sort of like slicing at the chests of the zombie, and it didn't make any sense.
Like, why are you doing that?
Right,
yeah.
They're already dead. Their organs don't matter. And so that's why we changed into more of a just like stab them in the skull kind of method.
Thrillseeker wants to know about the way that guns are held in the game, like that sometimes hands will be a little bit off and or floating or something like that. Where does that come from?
That I guess I did not have involvement in those systems, but I believe what I've picked up is that there are certain standards, and then it's IK that will put the hand as appropriately as possible. But there's a lot.
And so what is IK?
Inverse kinematics. That would be if it live in the engine. It will actually place the hand onto a portion of the gun. It's the
and
same.
The body knows how to move the joints to get the hand into the right spot.
Yep, and that's the same thing. For instance, feet. If you're standing on a slope, your feet will stick appropriately. It's a danger. It's tricky. It's it's my job. It's my job, and I don't understand it. So,
so you can grab any of these characters, by the way.
Okay, sure. See, here's a real back. So, real big backpack.
So NMQ wants to know, like, how do you decide what animation is the best? If you've got like a lot of different reference and a lot of different options, how do you narrow it down to the thing you're actually going to use?
Just readability. If I've got so I wonder if I can. I'm gonna go back to knife combat here.
He's not going to be as good. He doesn't have the skill.
Okay, but so in a swing like that, I'm just that's another thing. So you'll notice there are hit pauses built into knife combat.
Which looks pauses right there, doesn't it?
It looks incorrect against midair, but it looks really good against targets. Where the other weapon sets we did not put hit pauses in, so they look, we didn't standardize our weapon sets, and so that's something that we need to get better at moving forward. Also,
it's a subtle thing, and I'm not sure how well it comes through on Twitch, but you can see like when he does that slash right in front of his face, the knife pauses midair for just a couple of extra frames before it follows through.
And so, doing some research into the more advanced games now, a game like God of War, the new one, that read their combat blogs, and what they do is they actually have two different versions of the attack animation, where if you swing through air, it's clean, and then if you hit the target, it branches to the second animation that has the resistance.
Oh, wow.
So, but again, budget, then you're twice as much time. So time, memory. I hope that we can get those things in the future, because this is a game about combat, in my opinion.
Hansel Adolo wants to know, were there any silly Easter egg animations you got in, or any like little favorite touches that you'd want to share?
I mean, really, the crawler tossing that's my favorite. It wasn't a plan. It was just like we had to solve a problem, and I had fun with it, because to get that that reference was me attaching a scooter helmet to a trash bag and throwing it around my yard.
That's awesome.
Yeah, the neighbors just think I'm completely nuts, but
how do you go from that to an animation in the game? Like you shoot video of yourself doing these things?
I mean, it would be more efficient to just have a mocap suit, but what I like about just going and shooting reference on my own time is it's just my time. I'll do it 20 times to get the right one, and I don't.
If you got a mocap actor there, you feel like, well, I don't want to keep him here all day.
We've got the rest of the list to go through, and I'm an introverted person, so it's easier for me to just deal me and the animation and not have to navigate people.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah. And then the other part of reference for that was online. There's a video of a chimpanzee throwing a raccoon in a zoo. He backhands it and just sort of. I don't know if anybody in chat knows what I'm talking about. It's famous. Search chimpanzee raccoon. Oh, this isn't
the sharpshooter skill makes a huge difference to your ability to the sharpshooter skill and the caliber of the bullet you're firing.
I was gonna say I'm hitting their legs.
Because I think you've just got like a little target pistol on this. Oh man, you had so this is a guy without sharpshooter and a little target pistol, so the ability to shoot legs off is just vastly reduced.
Yeah, right. Well, I was going to try and show that the spin from that grapple toss move was as a result of looking at the raccoon throw in the air and being like, oh, okay, the centrifugal force is going to spread their legs out like that. And, that's what it is. You start to, as you're developing the game, you encounter these problems, you get an animation stubbed in, and then being in that mindset, you're like, fuck. Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. Don't worry about it.
You don't get the right answer right away first time, and so then if you arrive something later, just browsing Reddit or whatever, and you're like, oh, that's the solution, and then you come back to it and get the right thing in.
Somebody wants, Duck Tickler wants to know how long it takes to animate, say, take a zombie and create their entire suite of animations.
It took, it takes years, because we very rarely get it right first time, and then if you've got the fast zombie attack that as you're running away, and they're going to come up and then do that, right? So they kind of slid against me because I was in the slowest sprint move speed. And
they're kind of expecting you to be moving faster?
Right. They are balanced to catch you at a certain speed, and then late in the game we actually changed all our player velocities, and then so that goes back. You've got to change all the zombie attacks, and then it's all this. Everything is connected to everything else, and so it gets very heavy. And it's never done. I'm in the place where I need to take a little bit of a break from the game and just look at it objectively, because now all I see are the problems that I didn't get to fix.
Yeah.
So that's why on the internet, keep saying which things we really need to fix, because that helps us to prioritize.
Blaze Experience wants to know, is there any difference in preparing the animation for hostile enclaves or fighting humans? Were there any new animations you had to make just for human-on-human combat? That's different from zombie combat.
There was... Yeah, I mean, I think there's different hit reactions. I wasn't involved in that, so I don't know as well as I should have.
Oh, well, I mean, that's that's a good, as good an explanation as anything.
Well, generally, the big difference in player versus player versus AI is that you want the anticipations of the attack. So as drawing the arm back, you need that to be readable enough for the other player to dodge, because you never want to feel like you got a cheap shot, so it needs to be readable so the player can react to have agency over their character. Whereas zombie, it's just pure responsiveness. You want, if you could hit him on frame 1, it would feel great, but...
yeah, so because these same animations that like your player here, since these animations are going to be reused on the AI humans that are going to be attacking you, you got to make sure they're all readable in a certain way so that you can deal with human enemies.
Yeah. And then there's it being multiplayer this time, there's also network latency considerations too,
Yeah, that's true.
You can't have a hit land before a certain frame because it can't get out to the internet and back,
oh yeah, that's right.
The tubes.
It's hard to get through the tubes.
Right.
Let's see here.
I'm in trouble again.
So Trooper Sparks wants to know about, has noticed that the tired animations and the injured animations are kind of the same. And was sort of wondering about the decision process that led to that.
Savings. It's miraculous that we got this game out the door.
With the sheer number of animation it takes to build something like this.
Basically, like injured and tired means that you're doing everything again. It's not just locomotion, but all the weapon. It doubles everything. And so if we can share injured and tired, at least we don't have to triple everything.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny, like how easy it is to take for granted the way these characters move. The thing you pointed out earlier, where when you toss a zombie, if they've got legs, they fall in a different way than if they don't have legs. And I think when I'm tossing a zombie, all I think of is I just toss a zombie and he goes that way. But you've got to think about all the different ways he could go that way.
Oh yeah, I mean, I wish that we could see if I can.
Feel free to get this character killed too. This is my throwaway save.
Yes, okay. I wish we could go even farther where if I can get one of these, I'm so used to playing on infinite everything. But if I grapple a zombie and throw him, it does impact the other zombies. I wish that, if we could have a cascading, like, the zombies that you hit the zombies that they hit, it just...
just knock them down like dominoes?
Yeah, exactly. I love that kind of physicality, and the more complex the systems get, the heavier it is to work on, both just man hours.
So the Duck Tickler wants to know, how does animation change when you're going from like male to female characters? If you make an animation for a male character, but then you got a female body to put it on.
Yep. So that really, any time that you have to worry about do I have anything to throw or?
No, I didn't. Sorry, I didn't deck this character out with equipment for you at the beginning.
Yeah, because I got the special custom one. I killed him. It was
you
the
get to pick a new character here pretty soon.
Yeah, that'll be great.
Good. Yeah, my plan exactly. So I'll just let it go.
That's cool.
Maybe. Oh, all right. Get well soon. This.
And then the bloater, of course, dies. That's awesome.
So male and female differences. It matters more if the big difference in their rig was in the arms. The female has narrower shoulders, and so anytime during like knockdowns or get-ups or anytime, we didn't need that window. You're involved with the ground plane, then we needed to make a female variant because a male that's lying like that, the female would have her arms like that and go into the asphalt.
Oh, gotcha.
And there's some, again, if people look closely, there's a lot of places that we did not, in the end, have the budget or the time to get them in. So there's some clipping in some areas. The run I was mentioning that is shared, whether here's this run, if I bring out this, it's the same run with the thing in the hand. It's on the female too, and so if they look, the elbows on the male are kind of out to the side.
Yeah.
Like that, and if you look on the female, they're very narrow in. It's because it's the same exact animation asset. We did not get a separate one there, which, it'd be cool if we did, but at the same time, then when we have the velocity change, where make everything go a different speed, we only had to do it once, which was, you know, the nice. Oh, actually, if I could get her to jog after me, we could maybe see. Oh, there's
Yeah, she's busy. She's got work to do.
Yeah. Thanks.
Probably make somebody a follower. Or just walk up to somebody and invite them to be your follower, and then go with you. And then see, oh, you can follow her too.
Yeah, right. So there's so the same. She's using the same animation that I am, and you can see that her arms are closer in, which is a real challenge when you've got a giant backpack. You know, so
yeah.
That's where you'll get some clippings into the weapons there. It's a remarkable amount of work to have it look okay. You know.
Blake Experience, we're not going to be able to answer any questions about Daybreak yet. We know we've announced it, but we haven't announced anything about it, aside from just a very few high-level details. And so we'll get there eventually, we promise. We'll definitely be showing it here at some point whenever it's available, but we can't quite get there yet. Was there anything else on your notes that you wanted to make sure you show? Or was it all stuff that we've lost with Ava?
I think it was kind of nice to just be able to kind of freeform it.
Yeah, no, totally.
You know, here's an example of what I was talking about. Where is that ground slightly different height? No, not really.
But yeah, there is a step there. Yeah, it's hard
so there's a clip I went through.
Oh yeah.
You know, there I was saying that it's the same animation going over the guardrail. There actually is a custom one there. I'll fix it. Right after this meeting, I'm going to go. I literally am going back and making climbing improvements that I hope that I hope to get approved.
Nice. That time it didn't look like it was clipping, but one thing that's nice is like the camera. We'll set up the camera sometimes so that it's kind of masking some of the things that might be the hardest to get done. Like his feet are off and off the camera, right?
But you know that's the challenge of animation gameplay or gameplay animation versus, you know, film animation, where we have to have it right from every angle, from every distance.
Well, especially in multiplayer, right?
Yep, from you know, where we don't have the luxury of animating to a camera. Like, it has to be right.
There's so many parts when I was playing the new God of War, for instance, so many places where it absolutely depends on the camera's here, and so we can just teleport his son into the right place, and his feet don't have to do anything, and
I've noticed his son teleport when you got the back turned.
Yeah, he just shows up
way over there, but now he's right here.
Yeah, but if you did that, if they were doing that in multiplayer, they couldn't pull it off because somebody else would be watching from the side and seeing exactly what's going on.
Right. It's you can get lost in it.
Leon wants to know if we're going to cut down on the number of George Washingtons in the game. These guys are a special summer celebration. I don't. The plan is not for them to be in the game forever.
Here you go, Leon. There's one less.
Whoa. What? That move was great, by the way. Just going to that vertical move so quickly like that was awesome.
Yeah, I think that was. I think the reference for that was somebody beating on a car with a bat.
Oh yeah. So where do you find all the reference that you use? Some of the crazy stuff is it mostly YouTube?
Yeah, YouTube, or there's some darker sites that you can go to. Also, I try. My soul hurts sometimes. So.
I was about to make that joke, but then
you did it right there. Wow.
Yeah, but it's mostly YouTube, and it just they're really great at the sidebar always has something related to what you were looking at, and at this point, if I find something interesting, even if I'm not working on a task, I will save it to my Google Drive, just tag it with words like knockdown, Two-Face, and so later when I get a task of like, okay, we need to make this
you've already built up a library.
Right.
The sound guys do the same thing, right? They'll just collect libraries of sounds I think are useful, and then
yep.
I like that French press you just did there, where they're just like.
That was I think that may have been I'm not sure who did that one. I think that may have been I don't know. But yeah, brutal.
Well, I think we're going to switch over to demo. Thank you so much for coming in here and talking to us, Ian.
Hey, no problem.
Especially talking about what an introvert you are. This is it's a big deal getting you on here, so I really appreciate the insight you gave us.
I mean, we're scrubbing this off the internet right after. Right?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. We're going to send kind of nanobots to go scrub the internet for us. It'll be great.
Cool. Okay, cool. See you guys.
See you, man.
See you later. Okay, so here we got Dan mode, and we should actually switch to my other save game. So here, I'll do this for you.
You can drive.
So Dan mode is a hard surface artist. So what is a hard surface artist? We've talked about it before, but I just want to make sure that new folks get the definition here.
I have a background in doing vehicles, weapons, stuff like that. But that can also go into certain props that have to have certain behaviors. They open up or they operate. Stuff like that.
So it's mechanical things you
mechanical
make.
things.
It's just you're explicitly not specialized in building characters and
right.
clothing, that kind of thing. You're
Right.
focused on what it looks and feels like to have something like a gun or a car or a.
Yeah, and you typically get into that field by doing specializing in vehicles or guns or weapons, things like that.
So you were instrumental in making the crazy vehicles for the
Yes.
for the Independence pack.
So we had, when the time I got hired on, there was a lot of cars already established, but they needed performance models, they needed apocalypse models, they needed, stuff like that. So I worked on a lot of those.
And then, I'm curious, what was the process of going from, of deciding what vehicles we were going to build, and, going the process of, the concept to the actual finished crazy vehicle that you actually end up with in your hands?
A lot of things. I mean, there could be specific requests, like with the Apocalypse Norma, as a lot of folks might have found. There was a real clear vision of what their art director, Doug, wanted for that. But, there's other things that just kind of happened, and I've mentioned a dozen times on the stream, I used to live in LA, and, road rage is a thing, and it's like, what would I like to plow through traffic with? Not hurting anybody, of course, just getting other vehicles out of the way safely.
Imagine you're living in the world of, say, Burnout Paradise, right?
Yeah.
Where it's just a bunch of disembodied cars.
Right.
They're driving
Right.
around by themselves.
If there were no repercussions, so.
So we got the 3 cars here, and so do each of these start with the concept phase and they're drawn out? How much of it is improvisation as you're working on the vehicle itself?
Well, we actually had, for this guy, we had artwork in concept form on the existing pickup truck that we had in the game. But I felt like there's other types of trucks in the world, and these types of trucks appeal to me. And
so is this a fundamentally different kind of truck than most of the other
this
pickups
is a
that you see in the
one-off.
game?
This guy right here,
oh wow,
the Burninator, I believe,
yeah,
is a one-off. It exists in and on its own. Hopefully we can add a variant later, but we'll see. But it's a unique one-off truck that you can only get with this pack currently, and it was a lot of fun to make, and it was a passion project of mine. I like those really cool off-roady, aggressive-looking trucks. My wife has a history working with one of the old race teams back in the day, and
oh wow,
you guys remember that was a top-down Ivan Ironman? Top-down. It was like a dirt course with a track, and it was like an old arcade game.
oh wow.
Yeah, she knew him and stuff, so it was kind of a neat full circle thing. So.
Yeah, I hadn't even been paying attention to the fact that this is actually a completely different pickup than the other pickups.
Yeah.
It's got looks like it's got a lot more clearance. It's going to be better off road.
Yeah, I don't know if we can.
Feel free to get right in there and just drive wherever you want to.
Yeah, let's take her for a drive. So.
We got a question from Thrill Seeker. Wants to know, some of the cars have extra lights and stuff on the roof that don't actually turn on. He's curious about that. What got us there, and what are the constraints on us? Or is that an area that you actually touch?
Yes, it is. It's a little bit of design and choice. We don't more for the performance side. We don't want to.
Just multiply the number of dynamic lights in the game.
The huge dynamic lights running around at night. I think they look cool. Most people who install them on their road-going vehicles think they look cool. So,
but the question is would it take the frame rate if you suddenly had 5 more?
If you had 5 more dynamic headlights riding around at night, yeah, it would change things. So,
so see here.
This is George Washington.
Oh yeah, this is George Washington. Take him out. There you go. Whoever requested that, you're going to get a lot of George Washington death here.
A lot of people don't notice this little detail, but if you're riding around in your Burninator and you're parked and you hit it, it kicks up like a 3-foot, 4-foot flame. But if you're full throttle,
oh wow, yeah, it goes a lot bigger.
Turns up the heat.
Oh, that's interesting. I had never noticed that. That's cool.
Yeah.
And so is that like two fundamentally different effects, or is it just the same effect affected by physics and movement?
I think it was the brilliance of Gronk.
Just Gronk did something.
And Gronk turned
made it
on,
cool.
made it throttle related.
That's cool.
Or it could have been Peter G. More tech side, or both. There's a lot of people that touch each asset, especially a dynamic asset like a vehicle. Like I make it look the way it does, but Fogey and design team, they're going to decide how it drives. And they like to get input from different people and stuff. But, I wonder if wouldn't that be awesome to just kick off the Burninator?
Just set off a gas station.
Make a crater right here.
Yeah. So speaking of features we don't have, Leon Anagers wants to talk about weapons on vehicles, like having an APC or a tank or something like that.
The turret has been on my mind, whether it's a fixed gun or if it's a mobile turret. I mean, that's two of my jobs here combined into one. So.
So yeah, that's definitely something.
Stay loyal, and you'll find one in the games in the future, probably.
Someday, yeah. We got to find the right opportunity, because a lot of that stuff. I mean, it's not like Dan can just put one on a vehicle.
Right.
It's like because you need, for it to function, you need the code time.
It'd be better
a lot of work
if you could get on it and use it. If I just put it on there, it would look cool, but you'd never be able to. I hate that in games when there's a thing and you can't use the thing for whatever reason.
So, True Vulgarian wants to know, is there any chance of getting upgrade kits that upgrade Apocalypse vehicles into Apocalypser vehicles? I don't know, can you get more Apocalypse than we already are?
Apocalypse Extreme. Yeah, no, that'd be great. And when we were originally talking about making Apocalypse vehicles, there was that where it come in stages.
Yeah, or even like was it like individual pieces you could attach, or like there's lots of different ideas that go through that eventually you end up usually with the simplest idea you can come up with.
That's game development,
right?
You have the idea in the beginning, and then you say, okay, kind of like what Ian was talking about a little while ago about performance and making things fit.
It's like he wants to have all the animations, like like anything that the audience can think of.
I've thought about it.
We want it too. Like we want it just as badly as you do.
Yeah.
It's just we're staring at like spreadsheets full of problems that we have to deal with and trade-offs.
Exactly. You guys got some good questions today.
Yeah. I Am a Robot wants to know if he's a robot. No, I Am a Robot wants to know do we plan to keep adding unique vehicle models to the game?
That's my goal.
Yeah. I mean, nothing to announce specifically, but
I've spoken to the powers that be, and I said. We keep them going. There's lots of cool ideas that we haven't explored yet that I'd like to pursue.
Yeah.
Do you know where the parking lot was?
For the for our house?
Yeah.
I guess if you look on the map, you'll see the green down south. I think. I'll zoom out. There. That's where it is.
Clear across town.
Yeah. Let's mark that sucker and get back there. Oh, here's a request from Thrillseeker. Since all the maps are in rural areas, will we see a sheriff version of the Pilato CR? The reskin working police lights on top, pretty please.
I think it originally had police lights on it.
Oh, wow.
To break some hearts.
Just got to get rid of some stuff sometimes.
Well, it was just one of those, it needs to be flexible to... for all the versions of that vehicle.
Right, you got reskinning it means you can't just have like chunks that have to get removed.
I love those decommissioned police cars that people get, in auctions and stuff, and some folks fix them up and make them look really cool, and I like that aesthetic, Yeah. So that's up my alley. I dig that.
We can get one of those police sports cars. Maybe just reskin the the racing sports car to have police colors on it.
Yeah.
That's what I would drive around.
They have those
everywhere.
Performance pursuit vehicles.
Yeah, exactly.
So this guy is the meat wagon, and originally it was gonna be just a skin job, meaning texture change and stuff like that. I personally
not a Cylon.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Anyway.
I actually enjoy the irony of the meat on the outside and the cowhide there in the seats on the inside.
Yeah, that's kind of like an inside-out cow, right?
Yeah, it's kind of sick in that point of view. But
so
then,
did this just come? So if folks follow at Dougblot on Twitter, that's our art director, and he went through when he was reviewing the concept for this. I think he was posting everything made of meat on his Twitter, right?
Yeah.
Like he was just on a meat kick.
Yes. Yes, Doug likes meat, so that's why he's the art director at Undead Labs. So, but we got this cool little feature creep. That's a term in the industry when things aren't scheduled, but they show up. And out of a passion of myself and Gronk and other guys, the audio team came up with their sound treatment here on the horn. I don't know if you guys can hear it. I can't, but
Yeah, we got to turn it way down here so we don't get echoing.
but the the horn with the little subtle. I like how it's not like boom. It's just it just creeps open and a chunk of meat comes out.
Yeah.
It's like there's no hand, there's no
no explanation.
Don't ask questions, but there's a pile of meat there wrapped in chains to hold down the meat, and the meat has a function. It will knock zombies off your path if you leave them a little present. So.
So Jetty wants to know if we're going to do any Walking Dead tie-in content at any point, if that's the kind of thing that we've considered, or do we usually try to just kind of go our own way with this stuff?
It's easier and more
Legally safe?
Legally safe, but it's a licensing deal. I mean, that's a huge property, and
they got their own video games.
They've got their own video games. Those guys, work hard for their properties. So, crossing over, like, play our game for a bit, watch one of their shows, play their games, share it up.
And hopefully, things like this meat wagon, I've never seen anything quite like this before. And so I like the fact that our art team keeps coming up with things that feel really original. They don't feel like they're like, we're inspired by the zombie genre, but there's so much just stuff in this game that really stands on its own, right? Yeah,
well, it also gives a story to the world that we were in before the zombie apocalypse, that there was some wacko that thought that this would be good marketing for his butcher shop.
Yeah. I hadn't even been thinking about where the car came from. Like, you're right. Yeah. I was thinking purely as, this obviously came in a DLC pack for a video game.
Right.
I wasn't thinking about in world. Of course, it came from somewhere.
A lunatic thought that was a good branding. Now, if I'm going to show some bias, this one's my favorite.
Okay. Yeah, well, what about it makes it your favorite?
I like the OD green treatment.
Oh, yeah.
And I like the special features here with the firecrackers.
So,
special guest Brunt.
We got a special guest over here. Brant thought that we were doing too well, and so he came here to sort of bring down the mood.
I know. I didn't want you guys to look any better than you already do.
So notice that Brant's smiling. So as I predicted, this is a lesser version of our original Brant.
That's right.
He's now happy, which is a big problem we're gonna have to bring down as soon as he gets back to the
Safety's
office.
on.
Yeah, so that's exactly it. Safety's on, training rounds, that kind of thing.
By the way, community, Brant says hello. I hadn't had a chance to...
Thanks for passing that along. I saw Dan right before he came on.
I saw Brant at lunch, and I promised that I would pass that message along to you fine folks.
I had one damn message, and I said, Dan, please tell everybody I said hi. So, thanks for doing that, Dan.
You're welcome.
Blaze Experience had a question. Were the upgraded versions of the vehicles? He asked, were they designed at the same time as the original vehicles,
no.
like both in minds, or it was we build the original vehicles and then the Apocalypse version comes out?
Yeah, and some of them had to have specific purposes and jobs. Like the road trip cargo van type, cargo pod on top of the the hatchbacks. Like they had to have certain jobs.
Others are the single greatest car that's ever been made for any video game ever, which is the one we're driving right now.
Yeah.
All right, I just came by to say hi.
Okay, well, hey, Brant. Everybody say hi to Brant, and then he's going to leave, and then you have to say goodbye to him. And
I'll see you sometime in, like, September.
Well, thank you for coming, and feel free to drop in anytime you like.
Did Ian already come by?
Yeah. We already had Ian on here. We mercifully didn't make him do the entire show.
I just ran out of gas in my own car.
Oh, sweet. Yeah,
I am right up the road from the gas station.
Just burning the fireworks as hard as you could. See you later, Brant.
See you, bud.
So yeah, go ahead.
The question about...
were they designed at the same time?
No. A lot of the base vehicles were incorporated Yes.
Nice! Perfectly done. Wow! That was the best. Okay. Get one in the butt now. Oh, they're facing you now.
Go look. Go
Whoa,
look.
they all look for it. So
Yeah.
that's really cool.
Go check it out.
No matter what you do with that gun, something cool happens. Like,
I need snacks.
Blaze Experience has another question.
Yeah, what's up?
About what are the chances of us including motorcycles?
Ah,
So your part of motorcycles isn't the real hard part of including them, right?
no. I can model a motorcycle all day, and I think that there's lots of really cool looking. Oh, dude! Of course, this gas station's got a playground.
What happens if you shoot the?
I don't know. Let's see.
Well, you get bit by a zombie from behind. Is what happens. But yeah, having to animate the person driving the motorcycle, it's like that brings with it an entirely different
Dude,
set of things. Plus the physics of the motorcycle, the way it, yeah.
Oh man, there's so much going on with a motorcycle.
I mean, it's one of my
If
favorite.
you get
things
off
to
of a
do.
motorcycle, does it fall over?
Yeah, then you have to pick it up again. Does
Well,
it sometimes
does
fall
it-
over,
does it
sometimes not?
Do you hop off and kick the kickstand down automatically every time, or is it like a?
Does that
you know,
take
can-
time, or do you just magically
you
have
know,
the kickstand
what
appear?
happens if you're sitting on your motorcycle and a zombie grabs you? Like, there's all these like.
It's like an entirely different game.
It's a huge endeavor. Oh my gosh, reload.
Oh yeah, unfortunately. So this is actually my wife's save. She's only played through the tutorial, just barely, and so none of the characters are leveled up.
Excellent.
So nobody's got the gunslinging skill. Nobody's gonna be reloading
Yeah.
their guns extra fast.
Okay,
This plague is gonna catch up with me if I'm not careful.
get this.
Oh, so Chief Firebird, this is actually more of an Ian question, but he's talking about how a lot of fans have requested crossbows, and he was wondering, like,
Man.
are there just a lot
Motorcycles and crossbows, guys.
There's the- so I gotta say, I think that when they made the Starshank launcher, one of the things that Gronk had in mind was this is a step towards being able to make a crossbow,
Right.
Because it sticks into the enemies.
Right.
And-
And back to Ian and the animation team, it would require a lot of new animations
To like,
for them to,
You know.
and as he said, it started hitting the ceiling on certain things for budget. But that also, we'd love to have crossbows. Crossbows, motorcycles, modular, upgraded vehicles, those are all things that we all talked about, that we all thought would be great. And they're on our mind, kids.
Yeah.
And we will.
and sometimes it's, the question is just finding the exact right version of it. Like like the sort of your classic crossbow, where you pull it down, you like use your foot, to like
Right.
to load it up again. That's probably impossible, but there might be other kinds of crossbows in the world that might be a little bit more feasible. And so we look into things like that, try to see, okay, can we get the crossbow experience without having to eat the entire cost that you would pay for a classic crossbow? So we got our minds open to this kind of stuff. We'll definitely share it with you guys if we get anywhere near being able to do that stuff.
I would love to have conventional bows, compound bows, crossbows. Anybody wants a slingshot, maybe we'll try to do a slingshot.
Xenocidal Angel has a question. Did you nerf military survivor spawn rates? No, not that I'm aware of. The way that you get characters, in the game is very random. There are, a lot of them come from missions. A lot of them come from sort of random mission sponsors. So you could have a game where you get a lot of military characters in your world, and then you can play another game where you get none. And it really is just, that's the way random number generators work. So we didn't change anything about it. It's just, you probably had a really lucky game and then a really unlucky game when it comes to that sort of
This is a
thing.
good road. I like this road.
Oh yeah, no, it's, some of these routes are really fun to drive, especially like I love just getting in the sports car and just driving around the map, loading them back up with gas first, and then,
Yeah.
and then driving around the map.
I got some bits in my window.
So Blaze Experience wants to know, did you work on some of like the alternate weapon skins and things like that, or was that more Brant's area?
Yes, I did. There's some. I don't know if it's out yet.
Okay, well then let's not talk about the ones that might not
Okay.
be out yet. But he specifically calls out like the RTX Piranha Stormbringer.
Oh yes, all the RTX stuff. That's what I was curious about. I didn't know if it was this drop or the next. So.
Okay, yeah. So you did work on that.
I did the pistol, the SMG, a couple of the rifles. I did a lot of the RTX stuff. Yeah.
That's cool. So yeah, he was wondering kind of like, is that just kind of an ongoing thing? We're going to keep adding stuff like that to the game?
Ideally, yeah. It's fun to do for us, and it's pretty quick, and it's a lot of payoff. I know lots of people like different types of loadouts and styles and looks, and you know, this guy likes black, and this guy likes flat dark earth, and this guy likes OD green, and this guy likes, you know, gold with flamingos hanging off the sides. So it's like,
You heard it here first. Gold with flamingos hanging off the side.
we're not making that, and I'm not responsible if that doesn't show up, guys.
So and typically the weapons aren't under the same. The impression I get anyway. And correct me if I'm wrong.
Sure.
Is the weapons aren't under the same kinds of constraints that say animations are, where like if you're running a character around, they have to have all of the animations as part of them. That's part of their memory footprint. But
we have weapon types laid out by the animators that we set the weapons up, and kind of like what there was a question earlier about the hands on the weapon.
yeah.
But there's also like we set where the bones are for the magazine, where the
Oh, like
where
what
the
you have to
grip
grab
is.
and remove.
And there's a locator for the front grip, yeah. And then there's any moving parts, like if you know you're reloading something and you drop the charging handle, you know, stuff like that.
There's still a lot of complicated setup for each one of them, and so do you find yourself like wanting to like kind of stick to pretty standard models of weapons?
Yeah, we have
skinning one versus.
Yes. Yeah, we have a set of like loadouts that we, you know, weapon rigs is what they are, and we just set our vehicle. Sorry, we set our weapons to the rig for like if it's an assault rifle, it has an assault layout. If it's a conventional like sniper type rifle, it has a different type of rig. Pistols are completely different than those, you know, etc.
Leon Anager has a question that's probably more of a Brian question. He says, I know you were trying to make the game harder, but why did you kill the 12-round 50 cal? And I think the reason behind it, that as far as Brian's explained it to me, was that people were basically complaining that it was too hard to take out plague hearts without getting yourself in any danger at all. Like you could either you could do it from outside the house through a window with 3 shots or something like that from a 50 cal, and then it's done. You never even had to face a zombie. And so the goal was to make it so that you have to reload at least once while you're killing a plague heart. So they reduce the amount of damage that each bullet does to a plague heart, and then also reduce the clip the magazine sizes so that so you couldn't just annihilate it with effectively a single burst.
Okay, so it's not completely gone from the game.
No, it's not gone. It's just
because I did the textures for that gun.
Yeah, no, the gun is still there. It just doesn't hold 12 rounds.
That's all I care about.
Yeah. So yeah, but that was the reasoning. So basically, you got to reload at least once, and so you have to spend some time there, and there's a chance for some zombies to hit you. So it's not just, you know, easy peasy, you know, just go out, take out all the plague hearts with your.
If you run around with 60 rounds of 50, you're doing pretty good.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
This thing sucks down gas.
Oh yeah, especially if you're lighting off the fireworks.
Yeah.
So Trooper Sparks wants to know whether we're going to add any like law enforcement uniforms or vests or anything like that for NPCs. That's definitely a different artist question.
That's for a character team, yeah.
Yeah. The thing is, it's right now the way our characters are set up. There's not much of a connection between the appearance of a character, the outfit that they wear, and the traits that they have. And so, if we were to, if we were to, yeah, are you just killing that guy with freedom?
Oh yeah, I like the
that bat that you got.
It looks like it's got
It's got the American
stars and
flag
stripes on it. Yeah.
But yeah, so basically, the thing we couldn't do is associate law enforcement uniforms with law enforcement characters. So it would just be random, and very, very rarely you'd have a character with a law enforcement background who actually looked like they were law enforcement, and every other time it would look like somebody playing dress up for a costume party. And so if we're gonna, if we were gonna add, that kind of, and there's lots of other uniforms like that. Like, say, are we gonna have Catholic priest, vestments?
Yikes.
Are we gonna have, things like that? Like, there's lots of things that people would request, to want their characters to sort of have a certain style and look and background. But we don't actually have the ability in our character system to unify those and make the characters make sense. But that is something like, we've been talking about it. That is something we have in mind as like an improvement to the system that might be possible someday in the future. Maybe even in a
It'd be
sequel.
cool to tag specific characters to have like a certain wardrobe trait. You know.
Yeah, and that's the thing that
We don't need all that.
this thing column of red smoke is crazy. Yeah, so like the tag system that we use to keep track of our traits and certain other abilities doesn't extend over into the character models, and so. But that's one of the first things that that I think the character generator programmers and I have been talking about. If we got a second crack at the same kind of character generator, we would stretch that tag system across everything so that we could make those connections if we needed to. Let's see here. Oh, so Neokuz has got an interesting question. So when something is kind of worn down, do you build the clean version first and then rustify it? Or
Yes.
do you build it with rust from the outset?
I like to, and especially if I know ahead of time that there's going to be paint worn down to the finish or the primer or something like that, I will build it with those layers. And then
Or like you build the primer and then add the paint, but then the primer's still there to...
usually I try to get the bare metal underneath if it goes down to that.
Oh, wow.
Or I'll do the primer layer. We use a program called Substance Painter, and that is really fun to use as an artist because you can set the base materials for what you want and then take the damage and mask out layers so you can peel the clear coat off to make it matte finish and then peel the paint back and then get whether it's primer or rust or whatever material underneath. So it's a lot of fun.
That is a much more complicated solution than I expected to hear, but that's amazing.
Now the old days, you just textured it how you wanted it from the beginning, flat down, like when you were painting in Photoshop and stuff. But nowadays, with something cool like that, I like to build it up from how it was and then cut back down into, you know.
Yeah, that's amazing. Like, 'cause I always imagined that the outer layer would be the first thing you do, and then anything that is worn down from that would be additive on the outside. That it'd be sort of fake and backwards. But you really are grinding down to these other layers underneath. Wow, that's cool.
You guys ever find when you're playing the game, you just get magnetically, you just kind of find yourself going into the same places. You know, you just you're drawn to a certain area.
Yeah, you have like unconscious favorites.
I
and you're
keep
not even
coming
sure
back
why.
to this really bad gas station full of plague hearts.
So we've got a question. We got a lot of people who are asking why we can't barricade windows anymore. Like by anymore, I mean the original game had a window barricading system, and the new game doesn't. And so it was partly a design decision, it was partly a logistical decision because barricading windows in State of Decay, it doesn't actually affect the gameplay all that much. It's more of an atmospheric thing because zombies can still eventually get through the windows. You're never fully safe. And so, you got some fireworks to play with there while we're chatting. And so we wanted to have them mostly just because it's such an iconic part of zombie fiction. You know, like going into a building, barricading all the windows, feeling safe inside, and we were coming up with ways that that could maybe benefit the gameplay. Maybe sound is muffled. Maybe you can search more quickly without attracting zombies if you've barricaded the windows. But it came down to the fact that that making really good-looking barricades and a really good-looking barricading process on all of the windows was going to be very expensive. And that's not necessarily always a reason not to do something. There's a lot of things we did in the game that were expensive, and we did them because they were necessary. But that thing is crazy. But because it was non-essential, you always have to sort of do kind of like trade-off type decisions where if something is very expensive and the impact on the actual gameplay is going to be fairly minimal, then a lot of times that will end up very low on the list. Whereas something that is fairly easy and cheap to do and has a big positive impact on gameplay, those will be the first things that you want to add. And so it was a pragmatic decision not to do it. Okay, wow. So I gotta say, one thing I love about modern effects is that they're so versatile and like responsive to physics. It's not like it's playing some canned animation. Those chunks of flame are landing on things and sticking to things, and it just wherever you set it off, it responds to the environment.
Yeah, the more reactive it gets. I just read the instructions said do not set off in the interior of a building, so first thing I did is set it off in the interior. Getting a taste of freedom right here.
So we've only got like a minute left. We got a couple last questions. One is Stone Vagabond wants to know if you did any of the environmental art, or you were only doing sort of the mobile props and vehicles and things like that.
Just weapons and vehicles. I did do some early. We did some first pass prototyping stuff for some of the buildings, updating some things that we had from the old game to help out with those guys. There's a couple props here and there that I worked on. They don't come to mind right now.
Oh, but you're not. But you weren't the one who would be putting like cool Easter eggs and stuff like that in the maps. That would be the map guys, the world builders, James and Luis and Josiah.
James, Josiah, those guys. Those are good questions for those guys.
We should have them back in.
Yeah.
We've had Luis a couple times. We've had Josiah a couple times and James. But we should bring him back now that the game is fully out. I don't think we've had him out since release. So we should have those guys over
good
here.
dudes to talk to.
Yeah, and then the last question from Thrill Seeker. Is there a possibility for, and this might actually already be true, is there a possibility for gun skins like they work with cars? They have the same gun with random skins, like an M4. The M4 in the game is black, but we could get reskins in FDE, green, etc.
Right.
And the game would randomly assign a skin on spawning. And it says Magpul Magazines 2, heart. I'm not sure what that means because I'm not a gun guy.
Yeah.
But, so do we already do something like that? Like, or are each of the guns really kind of distinct and unique?
Right now, they each have their own skin, except if they're like a special model, like the RTX stuff, the Red Talon special kit. So unless it's a specific call out, we do have certain things that we want to do, and that's one of them. That'll add more variety to the stuff we're doing.
Yeah, it's nice because guns already don't stack, right? Because they have separate durabilities, they have separate levels of ammo in their mags, and so it wouldn't confuse anything or break anything for us to actually like just have each, just kind of like the backpacks. Like each backpack has got a different color, and you can't really tell in the when you're looking at your inventory screen, but they totally do.
Right.
We can do a similar thing here with guns potentially.
Yeah.
But right now we're not set up to do it. It would be kind of a new feature.
No,
right?
it'd be cool to have though. And
Need a breather.
there's definitely thoughts of that, Like the vehicles have a vehicle shader. You'll notice like pickup trucks have different colors, hatchbacks have different colors. So we have shaders where it'll randomly spawn different. But like this special model here, this is always going to look this way.
Yeah.
Unless we have a variant where it calls for different color versions.
Well, it's past 2, so we actually are supposed to hang it up here. But thank you so much for coming in, Dan.
Yeah, man. It's good.
This was really
good
great
to talk
having
to the
you here.
folks. Thanks for playing, guys. We really appreciate it. We are continuing to work on it, making things better. I love the feedback. Keep the feedback and reporting in on us and your experiences. And we're going to continue to make this game better. We're going to make it how we want to make it. To where we like it, so hopefully you guys do too. And
so Wonder and Megan are going to be posting links to our Discord channel in the chat if they haven't already. And so if you want guys want to come there and chat with us and with other community members about the game, making suggestions, calling out bugs, whatever it is you want to do, you're welcome to join us there. You can also bug us on Twitter at Undead Labs on Twitter is ours, and you can also bug me personally if you want to. And that's it. So thanks everybody, and we're gonna get out of here.